Hey, greetings. The challenges of direct-to-consumer. That is the basically the outcropping or the ultimate eventuality of decades-long move to e-commerce and digital marketing. And so now we're at this somewhat complex structure. It's a business model, actually. That's the way it works. Where companies sell products or services directly to consumers, bypassing traditional intermediaries such as retailers or wholesalers. Now, it has gained significant traction within the growth of e-commerce and digital marketing. Why? Well, because it plays so well to this concept of the funnel. Now, the funnel has a lot of people questioning what it is. Hey, look, it's a process. It's a way in which we can envision how we move the consumer through to buying and then on to eventually over to the far right there, loyalty. So we think of it linearly, but even though it's practiced in a much more iterative way. Now, let's drill down a little bit further here and understand what DTC is. Look at two channels, business to consumer and direct to consumer. The routes over on the left far side there, manufacturer, wholesaler, distributor, retailer, customer. Pretty complex and pretty difficult. The biggest problem we've always had as marketers is how do we move them? How do we move them from getting them interested in something, aware, to actually considering, to converting, which is what we call purchase. Boy, it was always a tough thing to do. Now, with direct-to-consumer, we eliminate some of those steps. We go straight from the manufacturer initiating this process, creating an online store, advertising and such, and then selling to the customer. It shortens the reach to the consumer conversion action. That's really what we're looking for. It's awareness, consideration, conversion, what we call the digital sales funnel, much shorter. So let's look at that a little deeper, because that is what we call the digital funnel. Now, if we think about what this is, it's about to take place in two areas. Digital native brands, for example, Zappos, Amazon, Uber, Warby Parker, even Thursday Boots, if you haven't seen that one. That's a cool one. And it's about the enterprise brand, two ways in which we approach this, McDonald's, Pepsi, the people you know. Now, the two differences here are when you're digital, you're brand new on the scene, you've got no infrastructure, you're jumping in, you're going to create the platform, you're going to create everything. Over on the right side, you got a lot of folks in the way. They're currently conducting a lot of tactical things to sell product through distribution, typical distribution, business to consumer. They're not going to give up easy internally. They see maybe DTC as an encroachment on their share, so to speak, almost like an external competitor, when in fact it's internal. So what do we have to think about? We have to think about this whole idea of what we're going to need to compete in a digital native brand, a pure greenfield kind of an operation. So it's going to take understanding the consumer funnel, if you will, this process of moving from awareness, consideration, conversion, or attention and loyalty. And we're going to have to try to understand how funnels work. So the digital sales funnel is basically begins with a category page. In other words, I land at this particular area where I have an interest in the product. We then move to a product page, which gets specific into that significant kind of a product. And then we go to what we would call the shopping cart. We put the product in there, and sometimes these things get delayed, right? That's where marketers really get concerned. How do we keep people on that shopping cart? Because the next thing that's supposed to happen is I'm supposed to initiate the order and give you a great big old thank you. So that's what we try to face when we're doing the digital sales funnel. Dig into that a little deeper. That is about conversion. Building the funnel is about conversion, and there's an easy way to do this. I just did this with a client not too long ago. Basically bought into a Shopify platform, an e-commerce solution. It's kind of vertical, happens quickly. Or something like Square to Grubhub, those kinds of things that work very, very well. Their drop-ins, they're not too particularly complex. This was a manufacturer was selling a side product that didn't require a lot of person-to-person sales, but, could generate some orders. However, there's another challenge, and that is when you create an online store and you get an order, you're moving into a CRM or customer relationship management program of some sort, most likely. Now, you have two options in terms of how you're going to execute on that. One is the turnkey, which we would buy straight out, get into Salesforce or SAP or Oracle CRM or HubSpot CRM. And that would be our basically the continuation of our customer relationship management piece. Very functional, not robust, not best of class. Over on the left side, we're going to continue to build. We're going to build through establishing a business process map. What's that? Getting a project manager in to map out exactly what's happening in the organization in the areas of marketing and sales and so forth, as you see on the left column there, and try to understand where the handoffs are, who's doing what, where's the customer being taken in this process. Once we get a business process map together, then we can actually go together and cobble to what we might be the stack of technologies, the individual pieces of platforms or technology that's going to help us, like a customer service desk, a credit card processing, and so forth, so that we actually complete the order. We move, as we look at the top there, from the online store to the order to the CRM, and we move it through until they actually make a purchase, convert, and we start to work on them for loyalty and such. Now, over on the bottom right there, you see API. That's basically an application programming interface, which has to happen to kind of put these things together. So the stack, the biggest challenge is how do you get them to talk to one another, these little individual pieces? Because what we're hoping to do is get the best in class in each one of those given areas that we might need and cobble them together, if you will, or put them together more succinctly, so that we end up having a very robust, that's the word, so that gives us lots of information and very quick action and lots of ease of consumer sales and consumer conversion. That's what our end goal is. So essentially, we're using automation, and we're using automation through a process, the business process map. Now, successful e-commerce is built on customer centricity. Look at the top of the house there. Growth, CLV must be greater than CIC. CLV, customer lifetime value, right? In other words, if I get a customer in the door, how much are they going to provide my income over the lifetime of their association with it? It has to be greater than CAC, which is customer acquisition cost. Now, that is the crux of it. If we don't meet that guideline going in, maybe we should not actually bring that customer on board. If it costs us so much to bring a customer on board that it's not going to be equal or greater than the actual customer lifetime value, the customer lifetime value that has to be greater than the CAC, then we shouldn't be embarking on it. You know, you watch a lot of programs and Shark Tank and so forth, and they're always asking about CAC. What is it? And oh, my gosh, that's terrible. That's a terribly high. Well, that's what they're looking at. If the cost of acquisition is too high, you're never going to make a business out of it. The way we have to look at that is we have to think about these four categories on the left here, technology, and that includes, on-site user experience and user interface. How is that web design handled and optimized? The shopping platform, if you will. Including the tagging and the integration. And integration includes the warehouse management system. It includes, of course, customer relationship management, and it includes enterprise resource planning. That's all a bunch of really front office, back office kind of stuff that has to be tied together. Then we move down to data analytics. Almost always we have to have some sort of understanding what the platform is, the architecture and the design. You have to understand that it's going to be compliant. And it's going to work, because that's going to be a bigger and bigger issue. And then with regard to privacy and such, then there's analytics. And boy, there's lots of different analytic packages we can use and ways that we can get there. And that's something that has to be done if you're going to have a really successful e-commerce customer centricity platform. So we move to operations then. Now, this is where actually we're going to, where we actually create the product, inventory it, fulfill the delivery and all that sort of thing, and the multi-channel distribution operation. So those things have to be in place. Then we get down to the operating model, the actual organization, the structure and governance, including those KPIs. And the KPIs, tell us how well we are doing with a given particular effort. Agile methods, collaboration, self-organizing, cross-functional. Agile is really, the opportunity for us to not get so caught up in the details, if you will. Finally, this is a key part. Human capital. Who is a talent? What are their capabilities? How are you going to make all this come together? This is courtesy of our folks and friends at McKinsey and Company. So, when CMOs think about the most important media channels, and this is something we switch to now. How do we get to the media piece? And this will be something we talk about in future weeks. You see that one of the most important things these days is social media and search. Now, the pros and cons of DTC, well, pros are independence and branding. It kind of gives us a chance to kind of run very straight at the customer and cut out the middleman, so to speak. More control over client engagement and relationships. And these are data-driven decisions, which is the cry of the wild today. We have to have, data-driven decisions. And shorter time to market. That's really the key. The cons, boy, it requires big investments, especially if you're trying to incorporate this into a culture that's not necessarily set for this. Effort consuming to gain contracts. It can be very much. And then there's DTC brands are more vulnerable. They can be upset very quickly because it's a fast-moving area. Coming attractions, a discussion of digital media choices. This is a particularly interesting thing going forward because these are the things that are going to drive DTC. SEO, SEM, niche edits, the things like social media, both paid, buying clicks, and organic. PPC, pre-roll, native ads, native advertorial kinds of things that look like they are stories or news stories, and in fact, they're actually ads. So we'll work through all 8 of those, and we'll come up with a good idea as to how you might be able to put these in place. Hey, thanks a lot. Appreciate talking to you about challenges of DTC. See you online.